world, and welcome to the Elise Morgan Experience. I am so honored and psyched to have today's guest. Her name is Melissa Neill, and she is a YouTuber and fitness coach. She is the founder and CEO of Body by Bikini Fitness and weight loss programs, specifically designed for women over 40. She has helped over 10,000 women through her programs and personal coaching work to break through menopause and get in shape. And those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I have had my own issues with menopause. So welcome, Melissa, to the show. I'm so grateful for you to be here today.
Thanks, Elise. It's great to see you.
And I think my listeners are going to love this. What would you call that? A British accent? UK?
Yes.
British? Because
British, yeah, in UK, whatever you like to call it.
I love it. And because the New York accent is not very admirable. So people get to hear your refreshing, nice British accent today. So again, thank you for being here. So why don't you give us a little background on just who you are personally?
So
Married,
I'm just a
all that.
normal woman. That's what I like to. So it's strange because I'm always really open about this, Elise,
Yes.
but I'm not qualified in fitness. So what qualifies me is probably what I would call the school of life. I qualified as in public relations and marketing, and I was kind of getting a bit fed up with that. And meantime, I was going through perimenopause, but I didn't realize it. And I was sort of, while I was in my kind of old job in marketing and PR, I was trying to all sorts of things to try and transform my body. And at the same time, I had a lot going on. I was going through marriage breakdown and I was kind of like really depressed. And there was a lot of things compounding in my life. And what I did was kind of take up fitness and I took it up in quite a serious way. But I actually wanted to be someone like you, Elise.
Really?
I wanted to stand on stage in a sparkly bikini, but I wanted the fitness competitor sort of look. So I've never gravitated towards being skinny, and it's just not me. I've always through my life, I've looked at things like Muscle Fitness, Hers magazine, and thought, that's the look I'm after. But of course, once I hit my 40s, I couldn't achieve it. And I was working out tons, I was trying different diets and nothing was working, nothing was moving the needle. And then I kind of went on a bit of a journey and discovered what does work. And just through a lot of trial and error, 2.5 years of failure, basically. And then that's when I started my YouTube channel, when I found what did work in 2019. And I was like going to stage and everything for the first time at 50, I think it was 51 years old. I was going to stage for the first
Awesome.
time, 51 or 52. And then I kind of had this epiphany about lifting weights, protein, and all this sort of thing, and like cutting back on cardio. And I started sharing it on my YouTube channel. 2019 it was, at least. No one was talking about this. It's like massive now. Everyone's talking about how women should build muscle when they get to a certain stage in life. It's really important to get your protein in. But I was literally the lone voice talking about this. And then quickly I realized, so I started my channel. It started growing, slowly, because YouTube's not like this overnight success like you might get on something like TikTok. And 2020, I thought, I'm going to start my program. I'm going to start some programs. But of course, we had the pandemic.
Hmm.
And so I had to do it all at home with a couple of pink dumbbells, which weren't at all my style. Because I was like more like I'm like a serious bodybuilder that likes to like go in the gym with like some barbells and lift heavy weights. And that just wasn't open to me. I had a couple of pink, they were £10 dumbbells. And I had a weighted vest that I could order off Amazon. And then I just created this program from home, just like figured it out. It was like wall sits because you couldn't, there wasn't all the equipment available. You just couldn't get anything to work out from home. And I'd been working from a gym. But that actually was really good because that's what women like to do. They like to, they're not like me and you, Elise. They don't necessarily want to go to a gym. They want to be able to do it from home. And
Exactly.
so that just started flying off the shelves. And then I built it, built up more and more programs. And then that's how you see me today. That's where we are with it, where we've kind of helped. You said 10,000 women at the start. It's actually got grown to 13,000
Wow.
women we've helped now through my programs. So I'm kind of really blessed about that I've managed to help so many women.
Yeah, and I think for you, and I'll give you my personal opinion, is because you're so authentic and real and genuine, and you're not ever showing booty shots and all the things that people try and get attention for. You were really serious, and it was like a passion of yours that you wanted to bring to other women. So my question to you is, were you always into fitness? I think we'll talk about your book that you have coming out or that is out, but I think you wrote in your book that you were always into sports and stuff as a kid. So did you ever have a weight problem in your life, or did it only hit during that menopausal time and when your marriage was breaking down and your eating habits kind of went all over the place? Or did you have the problem when you were younger as well?
I mean, I wrote about this in the book. I sort of never had a problem with my weight
Right.
until I hit my 40s. I was extremely lucky and I went through waves of fitness. So like in my mid 30s, I kind of got really into it. And then I had a couple of children, so it sort of took a back seat. And then as a teenager, I was quite sort of sporty as well. And I had a child I got pregnant when I was 18, had a child at 19, and I just snapped back into shape. But the youngest child that I had at 41, I thought it was because I had a baby. I just couldn't get back into shape. And I was kind of doing all these things and I was just like putting more and more weight on. And it was like really frustrating because I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And I didn't understand that my body was changing, my hormones were changing, and my body was changing.
And I think that's something in society for women. There's so few studies on women and menopause. Everything's really geared towards men, the studies. And that's why a lot of us don't really, you kind of hear about menopause and the menopause middle, but you really don't expect it. I know I didn't expect it. I thought I was going to be one of those people that don't experience, first of all, hot flashes because I'm always freezing. And I thought, like, since I'm always in shape and very so knowledgeable about nutrition and training and competing and all the things, that it wouldn't happen to me. And that is so far from the truth because your body just takes on, you don't even know I felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore or what I could do. You feel almost so helpless. So it sounds like you kind of felt like that too. You were so used to just bouncing back. And, you know, for women listening, when you are younger and you have a baby, sometimes that could be your excuse. Like, oh, you had a baby, you can't lose the weight. That's usually not necessarily true. Wait, just because you had a baby doesn't mean that you stay out of shape. But yes, when you're closer to your 40s, late 30s, early 40s, and having children and the premenopause is hitting, that must have been so frustrating for you. So, my next question, taggled onto this one, is: did you ever have um, bad coaching or bad advice that helps you figure all this stuff out on your own? Because you did mention, and which I've known, you don't have any glory certifications, you don't have PhDs, you have what I call everything from the school of hard knocks, which I think prevails over all of those things. Some doctor who came up with the menopause program, as opposed to Melissa Neill, who went through the program herself, what was going on with her, and then all of a sudden had this epiphany, as you said. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think I went through so many trainers, Elise, that I've had some good trainers, I've had some bad trainers, and I think it's really important to understand, because I don't want to discredit trainers
Right.
in general, that if you're a personal trainer and you do something like you work out from a gym, mostly here in the UK anyway, and I'm sure it's probably the same in the USA, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're not there to give you advice about nutrition. and they won't necessarily, some of them do, because they know that that's going to kind of move the needle. So that's kind of, if you need advice about nutrition, I think you need to go to a nutritionist. So that's the first thing. Secondly, unless they've got a specialist qualification, so I have two coaches that have a specialist qualification in menopause. One of them took it on to do it herself. One of them, I've kind of put her through the course because I thought, it's just really important. They don't have that specialist menopause qualification in fitness and nutrition for menopausal or perimenopausal women. So they're not necessarily trained to do that. They're often quite young, and
Mm.
the ones that work out of a gym, they're not that experienced. And so it's not putting them down saying, oh, they're not very good. They're just not, they've got a qualification, so they got a certification, but they haven't got the life experience, or they haven't gone off and studied. I might be lumping them all because there are some exceptions to this, to understand exactly what a menopausal body needs. So, like, and I know that your limbs start aching when you get to a certain age, and
Very much so.
doing like maybe like pushing. I know once I'd sort of gone through the stage of menopause, as in my period stopped about the year before, that's when it really hit me, and my body was aching, and it's like my hips were sore,
Mm.
my joints are stiff and stuff like that. So going, I was doing like things like 600 pound sort of leg presses before that, even into my late 40s and early 50s. And then once I hit menopause, it's like, oh, I can't do that anymore. It's too much on my joints. I need to protect my joints. Now, a standard trainer may not know that women need to protect their joints. So, yes, to answer your question, I've had some amazing trainers and I've had some really awful ones. And I write about it in the book because I had one particular lady, and she was a so-say coach. So she was able to coach you on nutrition, and she was able to coach you on strength training. And she was meant to be taking me to sort of stage, and she was absolutely awful, and she
Mm.
tried to get me to take performance enhancing drugs but also put me on extremely low calories, which wasn't really suitable. And I found out later she kind of does that with all her clients, just puts them on extremely low calories, which means that, this, at least, that you can't really build muscle and stuff like that. And so, I put off the idea of actually competing because I believed I was going to need to take performance enhancing drugs to do it. And, she's trying to give me like illegal fat burners, all this sort of thing. And I thought, oh, that means when you've got a menopausal body, you can't burn fat. And of course, that's what a bad trainer can do to you.
Absolutely.
And I also had, conversely, someone, so this is what I won't do for women at this stage in life. She also put me on really high carbs, another woman, and it was like 300 carbs, 300 grams of carbs a day. And it's like, you don't really want to put a menopausal woman who's trying to lose a bit of body fat, gain a bit of muscle. I know there's a school of thought you can't do them both at the same time. I believe you can.
Yeah.
You got to sort of not be this stage competitor, rack it up and like bulk up, completely high, because it's not probably suitable for women of my stage in life. So you had to kind of find the middle ground. But thankfully, I ended up hiring a coach because I then like took some time out and started doing things for myself, and I had a degree of success, Elise, on my own. And then I thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to hire a coach because I think I just need that extra tweak and knowledge to know how to get me to stage. And this lady, her name's Tracy, was absolutely brilliant because she had a lot of clients my age who she'd taken to stage. And for that job in itself, not everybody wants to go to stage, but
Right.
I learned a massive amount of working with her and how she was helping me and her other clients my age get that kind of body transformation. Now, of course, getting to stage is not for everyone, and it's quite extreme,
Yes.
and not, and so I don't implement everything I know about that. I implemented parts of what I know about that, but in a much more sustainable way where people can kind of sustain a sort of lifestyle. Because as you know, if you want a six pack, for example, or a lean competitor's body, you're probably not going to have a life. So you
Right.
have to have like a middle ground
Exactly.
where you can have a life, you can go out and enjoy a meal out, you can sort of meet up with friends without looking like an asshole. Sorry about my language. You know, taking your own Tupperware box to parties and things
Yep,
like
that
that.
was
You don't
me.
really want to be
Did
doing
it.
that, do you?
Did it a lot. Did it a lot.
Yeah, I've done that. So you want some sort of middle
What?
ground. And so that's what having a good coach taught me. And actually what she also did is not only did she take me to stage, because she said, you know, this is what a lot of competitors don't do. She said, and you might think it's a way of them trying to get you to sign up for longer, but actually there's a lot of truth in this. She said, what you need is you need to carry on with your coaching after, because a lot of people can absolutely just crash and burn
Absolutely.
and literally eat, you know, eat the whole world because suddenly they've got this newfound freedom around food and everything. So, you know, I used her to sort of take me out of stage and back into sort of normal life, if you like. So increasing my calories, working out less, that sort of thing. So I got into a position where I could sort of, you know, take my calories higher and have a more sustainable sort of lifestyle. So she actually took me through that as well, which taught me a great deal.
And it's so important. And I'll be very transparent here. That people that might not know this, I had, and it still has remnants of an eating disorder. So I was a binge eater. And when you throw a binge eater into competing, and then you have that the restriction of competing, because that is restriction. You can't live normally when you're, have that 16 weeks or whatever you have to get into shape. It's not wise to not have someone bringing you down, or at least listen to them. I know I sometimes didn't listen to my coaches. It's both. It's mental and it's physical. Your body's craving so many things because you've been so
Mm.
restrictive. Plus, maybe you love brownies and you have one a week. And then when you're training for a show, you can't have any. And then what do you want? And you get one brownie in your mouth. Then next thing you know, you ate 30 brownies. So, whatever, like the after.
Yes.
So a lot of competitors do that. It's not healthy whatsoever. And it's so wise that you were able to stay with that coach afterwards, because it's so important to go from that restrictive to go back to what you say, normal eating. So I'd like to speak to you about that. Is there anything that in your programs that help people with, maybe someone has an eating disorder and they want to take your program? So is there any
Yeah.
in there for the people
We
that?
absolutely do. Yeah. So we have there's a lady I work with called Erica Flynn, and she's part of my program, and she's a weight loss coach, but she does it through hypnosis.
Nice.
Yeah, and she's actually over 40. She's probably around about in her 50s, I think, herself. And that's her area of expertise. So she comes in and she does sessions in my Strong Women Club, which is our membership program. But also, we've got now a whole section in the Strong Women Club program, which, you know, people can go through. It's like part of a toolkit we've got.
Mhm.
People that experience some sort of, I suppose I'd call it a low level eating disorder, not a serious eating
Right.
disorder, because that's like
Right.
a mental health issue, isn't it? But
Yes.
I know there's lots of women that will find it really difficult to sort of control their eating, or they feel their eating is out of control and they're not, maybe they're eating stuff they don't really want to eat, you know, and they'd like to be able to control it better. So she does that work
That's great.
with the women on the membership club to sort of help them overcome that. And then we also have mindset coaches
Well,
which help people learn to love themselves, because often there's a connection, which Erica always talks about this, where people have experienced trauma in their life, and
mhm.
that's what's leading them to say something like binge eating, or what you described as like restricting, really, really heavy restricting, being overly restrictive, and then binge eating, something like that, and going in that sort of cycle. So having a mindset coach and somebody that helps with like hypnosis. And she's even got like we got a 10-minute hypnosis that we can do if we're experiencing those cravings and that sort of thing. That, because women at this stage in life, that's the other thing to say, Elise, we do experience cravings. So when I was sort of younger, I didn't really get these cravings and I wasn't really that interested per se in food whatsoever. And then you hit a certain stage in life, and most women are going to experience this when they get into their 40s, before perimenopause even hits, where they start to have these sugar cravings. And it's all to do with your hormones
Yep,
changing. And
absolutely.
plus, you're probably experiencing a bit of insulin resistance, which can cause sugar cravings. The other thing that causes sugar cravings is sleep deprivation, and we're really getting that. And so, what we can find, even someone that never had experience of that, you start to, and I certainly had it, and I still experience it from time to time. These like really strong sugar cravings. And so, that's helpful having like somebody that's either a mindset coach or a hypnosis expert. Because there are other things you can do. You can sort of think, oh, I turn to fruit instead, which is much better for you than, say, having a donut. So there are some things you can kind of do to like satisfy that, if you like, sweet tooth. But some people, they're going to have something like low level eating disorder, but women in general, we're going to find that they have this anyway.
Absolutely.
They're going to experience this.
Yeah, just society. I mean, a lot of women have some type of eat food. I don't like to say eating disorder, a bad relationship with food. Let's call it that.
Mm.
That women tend to have because just society. I want to look a different way, and you know, it's just the way of the restriction, and I'm going on a diet, and all the things that society, at least in the U.S., throws at us, especially our age group when we were younger. A lot of that
Mm.
was around, and I wanted to touch on something so that people can listen, so you don't compare yourself to others, even competitors, even ourselves. What may work for you with this, we can have the same coach, and I'll just throw a food out there. You may respond better to white potatoes, and I may respond better
Yeah.
to white rice. So just that alone, everyone's different. So everyone who joins your program may have different results and different. Someone may lose weight a little faster, but the results are there. And I want to speak about your program. That's why I brought you on. Is because I decided to do the program. Let's check this out, because I was, like I said, I was contending with all of this, and I was on. Well, we can discuss this quickly if you'd like, the HRT. So I'm on HRT, as we discussed,
Yes.
and it wasn't the right dosages, and it was just took a very long time to kind of figure out. And the worst of it was the sleep, because now I sleep like a baby. I was not sleeping. You're up all night long. Your body's not responding to anything. It was horrible. So now that it's kind of like evened out, the sleep is a number one. So, but because I gained all the weight and the body fat from, let me go back. I threw in the towel. So I take full responsibility that not only was my body doing these things mentally, from trying to eat clean and being pretty good with my food and still gaining weight, I threw in the towel and said, screw it. I might as well enjoy myself. So I was enjoying myself way too much,
Mm.
like on a daily basis. I'm saying having wine and eating pizza and having dessert, because I was like, why not? Right. And that was the worst thing to do, because your body's just going to hold on to that as well. So I decided, once my hormones kind of got set up, I don't know how long ago, 6 months ago or so, to try your program, because I admire you. I think you're so knowledgeable. You're zoning in on the exact things that were troubling me and troubling everyone in our age group. And even though I know food, and that's what I loved about your program, because since I do know food, I know that your program is amazing, because I saw the food plans, and I can see that this is a great program for the average woman out there who maybe doesn't even know about coaching. So that's what I love about it. So everyone listening, this is an amazing program. It's a very healthy way to lose weight and to give you the background with what you're going through. It's not, even a 20-year-old can use this, but it's geared for the women who are in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, who have been struggling with the menopause stuff, because that's not just an eating, like you're not eating healthy. It's a real thing. And what also helped me, I was just telling Miss Melissa before we went on air, like, from being in this world of training, I don't even want to say how long I've been doing this, but longer than half the people listening are alive. I know how to work out. I know a lot of the workouts, but I kind of like got lazy with changing my workouts. So when I joined Melissa's program, and tried everything in a different way. It's the same stuff, but all in a different way. There's only one way to do let's say dumbbell curls, but if you do them in this way, I saw
Mm.
such quick change in my body because I was just changing the way I was working out. And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And it's weird, even though I was a trainer and gave people workouts, I'm my own worst client. I don't know about you for yourself, but I'm my
Mm.
worst client. So I don't know what I should do. Should I try this? Should I do, like, I question myself too much. So I like when someone gives me something to do. And that's what also your program gave me. It took out all the thinking,
Mm.
like do this, do this, do this. And you have, just so the listeners know, there's a lot of different variations. If you have injuries, if you're vegan, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down. There's no excuse not to try this program if you've been struggling with menopause and weight and all the things. So I want to just let the listeners know that if a know-it-all like me, if you want to call myself a know-it-all, could benefit from this, then you can too. And I urge you to, look Melissa up on YouTube, and we will put all this stuff in the show notes. So my next question to you is, what made you write a book now? Because like you said, you've been doing the videos since 2019, 2018,
Mm.
and you've been around for a while, and you have a lot of, followers and subscribers, and, you have a lot of knowledge to give. Why the book now? Just out of
So,
curiosity.
well, it's been a long time coming, Elise. I'll be completely honest with you. I started it 3 years ago,
Ah, okay.
and it's really hard writing a book. I mean, my book as well, it's not very long. It's only sort of 12 chapters. It's called Kickstart Fat Loss, Transform Your Body Over 40 and Reclaim Your Power. But I started it because, thank you, you're holding it up. Thanks. That's what I should be doing. So I started it because I was sort of really wanting to show in a different way what I already cover in my YouTube. And, funnily enough, I think now there are probably a couple of different authors that have got books out for women over 40. But when I started it sort of 3 years ago, there wasn't much information about. And mine is a very muscle focused process, as you know.
Mm.
It's really about building and retaining muscle. And I believe that there are some people that they just if they see it in a book, it's going to resonate with them. Some people it's like it's video, I want to watch it on a video, that's what's going to resonate with me. And other people, they like to read, don't they? Or nowadays it's listen. It will be coming out as an audio book
Oh,
really
good.
soon as well. Yeah, that's I've recorded the audio book, so that's in the pipeline. But it's just a way of giving the information in a much more sort of digestible way, all in one place. Because if you go to my YouTube channel, you're probably thinking, well, which
Right.
video should I start off with? Because I think there's more than 300
There's a lot.
videos there.
Yeah.
And then also, it's kind of got recipes in there. It's got the workouts. The workouts are written in. Obviously, there isn't video tutorials, but it's got everything you need in one book to understand the concept that I try to teach women. And it's in a really accessible way because it doesn't cost much money, does it? It's like, I
Exactly.
think it's, $14.99 for the paperback version, and then $9.99 for the digital one. So it's really accessible for anybody to have, because I'm really passionate about this, that
Yeah.
you shouldn't need a lot of money,
Right.
to get the information that you need. So you talked about, well, there's not really many studies for women and that sort of thing. You should be able to just get your information in a really cheap, convenient way to help you on your journey and help you understand what you should be doing. And that wasn't available to me when I was going through this.
Right.
I also wanted to share my life a little bit. So, it's like talking about the fact that I said at the start, I'm just a normal woman. I don't have like a fitness background. I worked in the public marketing industry for 25 years, and then I kind of took an interest in fitness, and then I just sort of studied more and more and more. I like read up about it, I studied it, I started working, coaching women back in 2020, sort of coaching directly as well as my own programs that I talked about. So I just kind of like really made it my mission to get as much information as possible. And I kind of have this thing where I think I've been put on this earth to help women
Mm.
get the body of their dreams. No, women over 40 specifically, I'm talking about. And that's what I believe. That's just like my calling. God has given me this gift where I'm able to sort of break it down into really manageable and easy sort of chunks, if you like, and talk in a language that people understand. Because a lot of trainers don't, do they? They talk in a language that people don't understand. And so I've just got this, I suppose it's like a gift, isn't it? Some people are like, they're singers. I wish I'd love to be a singer or something like that, or in music, but I just don't have the talent. But there's God's given me this talent, and then he wants me or she wants me to just reach a really wide audience to share this message with them. And that's what I believe a book is part of that I can do to help people.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I believe that we all have a purpose on our earth. And I also
Mm.
feel that I'm on a mission to help women. Not so much 100% on fitness. And that's why I wanted to bring you in because I feel like you are that vessel with my audience because since I don't really do that anymore, specifically, like that's
Mm.
you're like the vessel that I would give to, you're the gift I would give to the people that maybe don't know about you, which I think a lot of people do, a lot more than you think, but it's just that I feel like that's why I felt like a connection with you in that way. And I love that you said calling because many of us have an awakening with many different things. Could be your fitness, it could be your mind. And then you keep it for you, and that's fine, right? But there's some of us that have this innate, can't stop ourselves that we want to give it to other people. And that's, like you said, God given, because you might have found your fitness journey and just that's it. You're going to just keep on your own fitness journey. You're going to go about your
Mm.
life and that's it. And I love that you said you had this calling. And it brings me to a question I wanted to ask you, and you kind of just answered it. What made you just go on YouTube in 20, what did you say, 2019, 2018, and
Yeah.
just go on a YouTube channel? Because that's you were before your time, in a sense. You were before your time. The social media, that wasn't what it really was back then. You know what I mean? So what made you
Yeah.
do that?
Well, the reason is, Elise, I used to love watching quite a few people on YouTube. So there was like Paul Revelio is the one that really sticks out in my mind, and I've actually had him onto my channel. I love him. Natasha Ocean, and there was like she's young. And so there was a lot of young women like that, like Natasha Ocean, and there's another lady who Hannah Oberg who quite a muscular sort of Swedish woman. Beautiful, absolutely fantastic. They were doing an amazing job. And I loved watching them, but I couldn't find anybody in my age category.
Mm.
And they were kind of teaching fitness, teaching, and they were doing a great job of it, by the way. I'm not, the reason I'm mentioning their names because I've sort of been quite complimentary. I said, love watching them, but I think they're not really speaking to me and my problems. And why should they? They're younger. They should be doing what they do best for their audience. And I just thought, well, I need somebody who's going to do that sort of thing for me. And I couldn't like find anybody online. And then I just thought, right, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to set this up myself. And I was absolutely dreadful. I mean, my first videos are really cringeworthy and awful
Not
because
really. I,
learning to sort of make video content. There wasn't a school in those days, really, in back in 2019. I don't know whether you know as well, YouTube has just turned 20, which is really quite something when you think, oh, someone setting up a YouTube channel 20 years ago would just be amazing. But even then, there wasn't really a school to teach you how to sort of present and do really well on YouTube. There was a couple of YouTubers that were, and there's loads now that teach you some tricks and tips, but basically I had to do it sort of all myself. And I almost gave up, at
mm,
least, because on the first, so what happened is I was doing it, then I was going to stage. So it was quite hard fitting it all in, as you know, when you're, so I was working full time, on prep. And what I didn't realize is it takes you time to build up an audience and build up trust. Same with the podcast, really. It just doesn't, you don't get the overnight success unless you're just one of these really talented people. Maybe you've got a massive talent or you've just done it before somewhere else, something like that, because there's like massive learning curve. And so I sort of thought, oh, no one's interested in this. I was sort of sharing it with my friends and family and stuff like that, and thought, no one really wants to bother with this. And I stopped making videos, which is kind of like a big mistake. You should be pushing them out every week at least. And I stopped making videos, but this one video, which was called How to Lose Weight Over 40, started getting traction because that's how YouTube works. It's like you don't necessarily, especially if you're new, a video that you post won't necessarily do all that well straight away. And it might take maybe 6 months, a year for it
Yeah.
to really build. And so I kept getting these notifications saying, oh, I've got new views on this video and new subscribers and they were subscribing as a result of this video. Then I was getting emails and
Wow.
comments on the video and all this. And I sort of started thinking, I think this is the universe telling me I need to get back on and do this.
F yeah.
And so by the sort of January of 2020, I picked it back up. I thought, right, no, I'm going to go back to this and I've got to be in it for the long game. And then that was the time I actually started taking courses on, online businesses and that sort of thing. And then that's when I realized, you don't just make a couple of YouTube videos and you hit the big time. You have to sort of nurture people and you need to have a sort of track record and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it just from then on in, I was completely all in and
That's
committed to it
awesome.
100%, which I still am now. So the people that I described, like Natasha Ocean, funnily enough, she stopped making videos because a lot of people they get
Yep.
burnout. They just find it's, they've run out of things to say. But I'm still just as passionate about it as I was. And I feel like also I'm in a really privileged position that I've actually got an audience, people that want to hear from me and they want to review my content and they want to watch it. And I put on live events and
Mhm.
that sort of thing as well on YouTube, and they want to come along and they want to interact with me. Well, I'm in that just like amazing, fortunate position of being able to do that and talk to women about this. And I love talking about it. I love helping people and I love talking about it and I never get fed up with it because I just feel, I'm just like really blessed. And as I said, it's like my calling in life. So
Yeah.
that's really why I started it.
I'm so glad you said it. I was meant to hear that because I also got, the past few years, I've tried different things, like a little butt hurt. You get a little butt hurt because no one's paying attention or whatever. And you have to just, the passion is what keeps you there. So I'm so glad you went back because the passion is what people are attracted to you about. That's what I was telling you about you being real and authentic because it's not like you're just, there's many, many trainers and coaches, and especially now online. And you got back right in a great spot when it was COVID and everyone's home. That was a good thing for you as well. But I think what stands out for you to people is that you're not doing it to make money. You're doing it because you're passionate about it, about this niche of women who are struggling so much. And then your what would you call it? I call it your little empire that you built became built because of that, not because like, oh, I want to build an empire and make tons of money. And people feel that from you. I mean, it's felt through that video screen and how you speak to people. And that's, I think, what is also what people are so drawn to you about still. Because, like you said, there's a lot of people now out there. And I think that's what people see the universe through you. You're speaking and seeing this beautiful thing and with a lot of information that's going to help somebody who's like, please help me. When someone's sitting there, looking at their stomach that maybe never was there before, whatever they're struggling with their food and their body image, then all the physical things of menopause, you really, really are like a God is sent to all of us. That's what I felt. That's what I feel like. And that's coming from
Oh, thank you.
knows what they're doing. So I know you just said you do lives. I want let's touch on what exactly you have for women who don't know what you have. So you have an online program, you have your what's the membership called again?
So it's Strong Women Club.
Growth Women Club, but you also do live. So I want to let people know that Melissa is about giving you information and helping you. Her YouTube, in and of itself, is I never say this word right, a plethora of information that you don't have to pay for. So you can get a lot of information and learning just from that. You also do lives. I believe you're having one this tomorrow. Is it? No, Saturday,
Yeah,
April
Saturday.
26th.
So I got one on Saturday, the 26th of April at 1 p.m. ET. And then I've got another one Saturday, the 3rd of May as well at 12 midday ET.
And what programs do you have out for the women who want to like I want to join now? What are they?
Yeah, so currently we've got our 8 week challenge going on.
Yeah.
We've just launched the new one ready for May. So people can kind of go online and buy that. And that one, it's a great sort of avenue in to
Yep.
my programs, I guess. But I will be honest with you, Elise, you have to be sort of fully committed,
Mhm.
and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's quite hard. So, that's why we kind of give a 14-day money back guarantee as well. So if someone goes in and they just kind of think, this seems like a lot, because what we're trying to do is get people a really good result in quite a short space of
Yeah.
time, which, as you know, is very difficult at this stage in life. So we set up the 8 week challenge, and it's got a massive prize fund as well.
Yes.
So this time we're sort of offering $10,000, and there's kind of $2,000 and stuff like that as well. For every 30 days, someone gets $2,000, and then the grand prize is $10,000 for, 3 cohorts that have taken part. The best 3 women get judged, and then there's like a top woman. So that's always a massive incentive. So we do find people get a really amazing result, regardless of whether they win the money or not. And they also kind of go into community. And it is quite tough. It's called a challenge for a reason. So it's quite tough, but it's quite a good way into sort of how to get, if you're sort of thinking, well, I want to get a result and I want to see, maybe you're sort of thinking about your summer vacation now, and you're thinking, well, I want to really make some inroads by then. That's going to get you a fast result, but it's not sustainable in the long term.
Right.
So another program we do, and some women may not want to go on the 8 week challenge because they've got other things going on in their life, and they think, I just want something where I don't have to make so much of a commitment. So we got something called the Strong Women Club,
Mhm.
which is a membership program. And so that you join, you go into a community, you get weekly live calls as well. And then you get all the kind of tools and information and workouts that you need. It could be home workouts, it could be gym workouts, and it could be like scale back workouts. So we got 20-minute workouts in there for people that don't have much time or much energy. Because when we get to this stage in life, we can feel our
Yeah.
energy is really lacking as well. So it's like we've got everything covered in this sort of membership club to help people get to their goal, which is in a more sustainable way, shall I say, more sustainable. So it's not, because we always want, obviously, we want people to go in the 8 week challenge, but we don't want them to then continually go on that. We want them to move to something more sustainable. So
Yeah.
those are our 2 main products. And then we do coaching. So we're kind of running a wait list at the moment because we haven't got any spots available. But there will be, by the 8th of May, we'll have more spots available for like one-to-one coaching. And one-to-one coaching is much more for somebody that really feels they need a lot of support.
Yeah.
They want like what we call in the business high touch point with me or one of my coaches, and like being able to communicate with us on a daily basis, that sort of thing. So it's kind of 3 different things really that we're running at the moment.
So there's a lot of ways for women to work with you. And I know I signed up for the challenge and it is very hard. And that's just, I liked it. And I am the type of person to stay on that, that's just how I am, which is not, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. Um, but it is, it is, I don't want to use the word, it's a quick fix, but it does give you results rather quickly. So you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do the work for those 8 weeks? And 8 weeks,
Mm.
not that long, and you do get the results. And I being with my background and like I said, seeing that food and the workout, I thought it was great. I didn't think it was too much of a challenge. I thought it was awesome. But for the average person, especially for someone who never worked out before, that might be very overwhelming for them. So that in and of itself shows you who Melissa is, that she actually is giving you a 14-day return. No,
Yeah.
no questions asked, that alone. And then you have your membership, you have private coaching. There's so many ways to work with Melissa. So if you don't, then I don't know what even to give you. I'm handing you her on a silver platter for all the women out there who are struggling with, this menopause stuff. And I always say, you ever notice that the word menopause starts with men? Did you ever notice that?
Yes.
Because men are problems for everything. But I keep looking at my notes, but I haven't done any of these questions. But I always ask my guests two questions, and I want to ask this for you now. So my first question is, if you could go back in time and say something or give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Well, follow your dream.
Mm,
I've always been, I think, since sort of following what I would call my calling in life, which I think happens to a lot of middle-aged women. This is one of the benefits of getting older, isn't it? Is we start to sort of think, oh, actually, I don't want to tolerate stuff anymore, things in your life. And it's really good to like get rid of people, stuff, whatever it is, jobs
yeah,
out of your life and actually do what suits you, if you're in a financial position to do that. But sometimes you might not quite be in a financial position, but you're willing to sort of take a step back in order to do that. And I always sort of think I'd say to myself, well, follow your dream because I didn't really follow my dream until I got much, much older. And I was kind of like working to pay the bills and working in something that I believed was going to be right for me. And it's funny because I had redundancy from a job when my kids were much, much younger. They're 17 and 19, the youngest two now. And I sort of thought to myself, well, the only thing I can do is I set up my own business, which actually failed. That business failed, which was a
ah,
public relations business. And I set up my own business and I thought, well, I can't really do anything else but this because I'm a bit old. Well,
mm.
I was like much younger than I am now. And when I was setting up my other business, so you're never too old, but it's really good to sort of follow your dream and follow your passion. And I know Arnold Schwarzenegger says, don't have a plan B, doesn't he? Because you always raise kids. I wanted to be a ballet dancer when I was a kid. I probably put that in the book. And it was like, but adults were telling me, oh, but you need to have a backup plan. And then I wanted to go into television and they said, oh, you need to have a backup plan. I was actually a children's TV presenter, believe it or not, when I was younger as well. It was actually unpaid work, but I suppose it was the equivalent of Nickelodeon in the UK in the 70s or
That's
something like
cool.
that. That's what it was. It was called Why Don't You? And so people said, oh, and then that sort of it dampens your enthusiasm, doesn't it? Because you just sort of think, oh, well, oh, I need to have a backup plan. And then you think, oh, I'm not really good enough to do this. But you should always sort of follow your passion and your dream.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that whole statement about how society in and of itself is doing that to each generation is doing it to the next generation. Like, oh, you can't make a living doing that, or you can't do that. That's not wise. Or, a ballet dancer, what are you going to do with that? That's not, just
Yeah.
never like go for it. There's never like that. Very few people here that like go for it. And it's because that person telling you that is indoctrinated into the way the world is supposed to be and what you're supposed to do and have or whatever. And when your prime example, it was later on in life, but still, when you follow your passion, everything will come. And you follow your intuition, but we're not necessarily taught that, especially when we're young. And that's a whole. I love all that kind of talk. But yes, I love that you said follow your dream, especially when you're younger, to be able to defy let's say even your own parents, to say, I'm not going to listen to them, I'm going to go do it. So that's a great message to give anyone that's listening. And if you are over 40, which I hope you are listening to this, because and a woman, you're never too old. Because I used to say that to myself. And I've always said to people when they've asked me in the last at least 20 years, how old are you? And I always answer ageless, because society has age. Oh, you're this, so you have to act like this. So you're this, you have to act like this. So I used to say ageless, because then now you can't put your judgment on me. That's what I used to
Mm.
say. But we all really are ageless. We all are, beautiful, energetic beings. And it doesn't matter when you start, just start. So don't let the age or the number say that I can't lose the weight or I can't get into the shape, because if someone else did it, and there are people that have done it, so can you. So please don't play into that, playing
Mm.
small stories. So thank you for bringing that up. And I also want to ask you, I'm a very big affirmation person, and how you speak,
Mm.
and I am statements. So what doesn't have to be your life I am statement, but what is your current I am statement for where you are right now?
I am worthy. I didn't even have to think about that.
There
'Cause
you
it's like
go.
that's really something that as women, I'm really, this is really important what you're talking about, Elise, and something that we actually teach women on in our Strong Women Club, because
Awesome.
how we talk to ourselves
So important.
is so important. And especially when you get to this stage in life, because what's happening is we're aging, so we're like getting wrinkles, we're getting grey hair, and in society's eyes, we're less desirable. We're not as worthy. We're invisible. That's another word that comes up
Mhm.
quite a lot, not by me, but by women
Right.
that I sort of connect with that say these are the things that they feel at this stage in life. And so it's really important how we have a really strong inner narrative. And so for me, it's like, yeah, I am worthy. I am worthy of being in the best health that I can possibly be. I'm worthy of like running my own business and having a business that I love and enjoy. I am worthy of all those things. And
Mm.
I think sometimes as women, we can, especially when we see the visibles, don't we? Because all our lives we've been taught that visually how we look is really, really important. And if you were someone like me who was sort of reasonably attractive, reasonably slim, and then when you lose that, you feel like you've lost your value, don't you?
We
You're
discussed
losing
that.
your looks, you're losing you're losing your face is, my face is aging, and you somehow believe because society has told you that you don't have a value, your value's going down, but that's not the case at all. Your value's going up because actually you've got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And so being, for me, just constantly telling myself I am worthy is so, for me that's a really important affirmation, because I care less about, so I went through the stage competitor journey, Elise, and I sort of care less about the aesthetics
Mm.
now. It's less important because I sort of think, oh yeah, I've done that. So I've proved that point. It's okay. I care less about the aesthetics and more about me as a person and what's on the inside. And obviously, the health, it's all part of that. And I want to be healthy and I want to have longevity, that sort of thing. But I care less about the sparkly stage bikini and that sort of thing.
Right. I'm so glad you said that, because first and foremost, my last show was 2018. And I remember standing up there and just being so just done with the whole, almost all the aesthetics part of it. And I met very few people in the many years I was on and off competing that I would want to be friends with. And I remember saying I'm literally on stage going, most of these people, and I'm judging, so don't take this as a judgment. It was just like a thought when I was on the stage, are so beautiful on the outside, but so ugly on the inside. They didn't know themselves. They weren't, some people were not very nice. And I just didn't even want to be around it anymore, because it was only about that. Like you just said, the
Yeah.
aesthetic, right? And I then also, like, you want to see how you speak to yourself. And before we went on air, I said it to you. I was known for that. And once my body started to go, I felt like I lost my identity. So not only do the average woman think that, because you lose your identity to your younger self always. You're always You're not 20 anymore. You're not 30 anymore. So that's an old you. That's an old chapter. And I think because of the aesthetics, you want to hold on to that a little bit or hold on to something that is almost impossible, right? So
Mm.
you want to, and I contend with this all the time. I have a hard time, and I was just about to say it to you. You can say all the affirmations from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, but if you don't embody them, that the words mean nothing. So you want to feel it and use affirmations that you can actually feel. So it's very important to have it coming from the inside out, no matter what you look like on the outside, and that your journey to this fitness should be, yes, you want to love what you look like and like what you look like more, but love yourself now to give you the gift of
Absolutely.
fitness, to give you the gift of the health with your program. Is, a lot of women, I think, would probably, I would assume, go to your program like a lot of people go into fitness because they don't like the way they look. They don't love themselves. And they would think changing their outside will change the inside. And sometimes it does help, but it's really that inside woman, the
Mm.
inside soul, who you are is the most important. And she needs to be seen and heard. And I love that your program addresses that inside, that the soul of the people. So I so honored and grateful to have you on the show. And I will be honored to spread the word about your message and your book. And I just am so happy that you are following your passion to help all these women in the world. Your services are so needed and you do it so well, and your team does as well. So I appreciate everything that you are doing.
No, thank you, Elise. Well, thank you very much for having me onto your podcast.
I am so grateful. And everyone listening, I will have all of Melissa's information in the show notes. You'll get all the information. If you have any questions, just reach out to her via her social media. You can reach out to me and I can guide you to her, but everything will be at your fingertips in the show notes and on all my social media. So till next time, I wish you all love and light. And thank you so much. Take care.